Well, more lunch.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Lunchroom on Radio Caribbean International. It is actually Friday, the 12th of the 12th of December 2025. And of course, it is the day before National Day here in St. Lucia. And of course, we want to wish everybody a very wonderful National Day in advance. Welcome to the program, The Lunchroom, here on Radio Caribbean International. I'm your host, Calix George Jr. Now, in addition to our 101.1 FM radio frequency, you can also get us at our website, rcistlucia.com, and we are streaming live on our Facebook feed. You just have to search for the official page of Radio Caribbean International. Of course, hi to all our friends in Facebook land. Now, if you want to call in to tell us what's on your plate today for this, our final program for the year 2025, you can do just that by calling in to 452-3046. Again, 452-3046. I look back in time, and we go back to the year 1925. The Constituent Assembly of Iran voted 257-3 to amend the constitution, officially overthrowing the Qajar dynasty and bestowing the crown upon Reza Shah Pahlavi. In the year 1946, on this day, the United Nations accepted 6 Manhattan blocks as a gift from John D. Rockefeller. Of course, later on, that became the home of the United Nations in Washington, in New York, in Manhattan, New York. In the year 1964, Kenya became an independent republic with Jomo Kenyatta as its first president. In the year 2000, on this day, the United States Supreme Court issued a 5-4 decision in Bush versus Gore, resolving the recount dispute in Florida's 2000 presidential election in George W. Bush's favor and effectively awarding him the presidency over Al Gore. 2015, on this day, the COP21 Climate Change Summit in Paris reached an agreement between 195 countries to limit the rise in the global average temperature to less than 2 degrees above pre-industrial levels. And 2019, on this day, December the 12th, British general election was won by Boris Johnson's Conservative Party in a landslide victory with an 80-seat majority, while the SNP, the Scottish National Party, won 48 of 59 seats in Scotland. Also want to send out some birthday greetings for today. First, my good friend, Mr. Chad O'Geist, happy birthday to you. And we do hope that you're having an absolutely fantastic and splendid birthday celebration. Hope you're enjoying it to the max. And of course, we are now going to take in our dish of the day.
Every bed in our hospitals tells a story of someone's mother, someone's brother, someone's friend. And when that story of care is complete, it's time for the next chapter, home. But too often, discharged patients are left waiting hours, days, weeks, sometimes months, not because they want to stay, but because no one comes. We understand life gets busy, but every extra day they wait means another patient, perhaps in pain, perhaps in crisis, can't get the bed they desperately need. So when the call comes that your loved one is ready, please be ready too. Pick them up, bring them back to the comfort of family, where healing truly continues. Because caring doesn't end at discharge, it continues with you. A message from the Ministry of Health, Wellness and Elderly Affairs.
Serving now, the Daily Dish.
And welcome back to our program here at the Lunchroom on Radio Caribbean International. As I said, it's our final program for the year 2025 before we head on to our annual vacation period, of course, where we put an end to all the that type of programming and to, of course, allow individuals to enjoy the Christmas festivities. Of course, as we are talking about festivities, just wanted to also send out some other birthday greetings. First to Mr. Morris Compton. Happy birthday to you, Morris, and we do hope that you're having a fantastic birthday celebration as well. And also to the great Papa Veda, Mr. Ignatius Tyson. You're celebrating your birthday today, and we want to of course, thank you very much for all that you've done over the years, especially in terms of Christmas celebrations as well and all the music. And we do hope that you're having an absolutely fantastic birthday as well. Also want to send out some birthday greetings to Mrs. Christine Bartlett Josie over in the United States of America. And we do hope that you're having a fantastic birthday celebration. Hope you're enjoying it to the max. And also, it's another musician, artiste right here in St. Lucia who's celebrating his birthday today, Mr. Sidale Simei. Happy birthday to you, Sidale. And we do hope that you're having a splendid and joyous Christmas already. And of course, great way to start it with your birthday. I also want to send out some belated birthday greetings to Mr. Emran Matthew. We forgot to mention his birthday yesterday. We do hope that you're having you've had a great birthday, and of course, we're wishing you an absolutely wonderful Christmas vacation as well. Now, switching gears a little bit, you heard earlier on, of course, during our history of the day, we were looking back, and one of the matters noted was that of the 2015 COP21 Climate Change Summit, which was held back in France. It's 10 years now, 10 years on since the COP15, and that attempt, of course, to get countries to agree to setting a limit in terms of the global rise in average temperatures to 2 degrees Celsius. And in fact, the aim at that time by small island developing states was actually to get 1.5 degrees, to limit the increase in global temperatures to 1.5 degrees above pre-industrial levels. And the rationale for that, of course, was that if it exceeded 1.5 degrees, the impacts would certainly already be pretty stark for island states like St. Lucia, like many others that are even far more vulnerable, the likes of the Maldives, for example, a country that is effectively built on atolls, coral atolls, and very, very susceptible to the sea level rise, and many other countries in the Pacific in that same boat. And so, of course, the creation of an organization, this push towards a plan for small states and dealing with small states as a group that requires special and differential treatment, was also a means to pull together their special interests in the regard of trying to limit the impacts of climate change. And we, of course, have seen some, one can say, some efforts in terms of the world towards moving certain economies to become more green, to become less reliant on fossil fuels. And countries, even like China, for example, are now leading the way in respect of the technologies and industrial processes that have to be changed to develop more sustainable communities, more sustainable livelihoods and living. And so the emphasis, of course, on renewable energy, that major push there. And when you look again at China, they in fact are the ones leading the world right now in terms of output of renewable energy, in particular that of solar and wind. They are some of the largest manufacturers in the world. They have certainly been able to surpass the early leaders, such as Germany and some of the Nordic, Scandinavian countries in this regard. But of course, we all know that everybody has to play their part. And one of the countries that, of course, has a major responsibility in the mix has been that of the United States of America. They are, by virtue of being the one of the largest users and certainly the largest per capita consumer of fossil fuels in the world, they, of course, have a major responsibility in this regard. And we've seen, depending on the politics, the flavor of the politics in each year, it has changed, and that level of commitment has varied over the years. And of course, the current president does not seem to be a great believer in the matter of climate change. We could say he's been a bit of a denier of it, and the overall stance in respect of actions that need to be taken to reduce or to curb the increases in consumption of fossil fuels. That has, of course, not gone in the right direction. And we've actually seen a significant expansion of fossil fuels by the United States of America. And of course, we're also seeing at the same time efforts at, in terms of their geopolitical agenda, targeting fossil fuels as being a major player moving forward. And of course, we can speak to the matter of Venezuela in that regard. But we will come to that in a little bit, because we actually have a really nice video that kind of gives some explanation to the whole matter of fossil fuels and why Venezuela is so very important in that mix. But that said, the task at hand still remains regarding climate change and the impacts that can very well begin. Well, we're already seeing the impacts, and we've been speaking about, of course, the issues relating to extreme weather events and the number of Category 5 hurricanes that we've been witnessing in the Caribbean. We, of course, are also mindful of the issues in terms of the impact of desertification and drought, longer drought periods, generally seeing declining rainfall levels here in St. Lucia, and the implications that is going to have on our biodiversity, on our ability to simply survive, especially, of course, given that water is necessary for our for everything, including our agriculture as well as general industrial systems and residential domestic use. So definitely the implications of climate change are making development more challenging. It therefore means that whereas we would perhaps may have been talking about a 1 in 50 year storm and basing maybe designs on that, and you're seeing that these storms are coming a lot more frequently than before, the implications are real there. And so how that is going to be tackled, because it has a tremendous knock-on effect in terms of the finances of these small island developing states to be able to respond to such disasters. And that, of course, means that investments that perhaps could have been going into new things, into other areas, and are ending up going into simply replacing infrastructure that was lost before it should have been replaced. And so that, of course, means that the country is not making the type of progress that you would want to see overall. So tremendous challenges for us here in the Caribbean as we look on 10 years on since that Paris agreement that happened up at Le Bourget. And we had the likes of today CARICOM ambassador on climate change, Dr. James Fletcher. Of course, he was very instrumental in those meetings back at Paris in 2015. Still many other issues. We came out of another Brazil meeting of climate leaders, and of course the challenges in respect of loss and damage, and who should really be compensating, who should be paying, how islands like ours can access the financing that is available. Still a very somewhat tedious process with entities out there that, yes, in principle seem to have lots of resources, like the Green Climate Fund, but in fact ensuring that those funds can be sourced and that can be utilized in a timely manner for the benefit of those who really need it the most. And so definitely we need to keep the matter of climate change front and center, and overall understanding of our responsibility, what we can do as a country to benefit from climate change effectively, to see that, hey, this is actually might be an opportunity for us to make advances. And so, yes, there may be investments that have to be made today, but in the long run, 20 years down the road, they in fact will result to the benefit of stronger, more sustainable, more resilient St. Lucia and the Caribbean on a whole. Also, in our history, interestingly enough, was the matter of back in 2000, the year 2000, the U.S. Supreme Court having to decide on the 2000 Florida presidential election. And that was an interesting one, wasn't it? It effectively decided upon who won that election between Gore and Bush. And it came down to the matter of the machines, the machines that were being utilized to for voting, and whether these little charts were completely removed out of the ballot papers, and a lot of interesting controversy there in the United States. Of course, in the U.S., each state is effectively responsible for the management of its own elections, inclusive of federal elections, and so every state has a different method, and albeit, of course, you would think that, of course, in the country with the greatest resources ever, that, yep, you have sometimes issues arising in that regard. Here in St. Lucia, we've still been using a very tried and tested method of simply asking an individual to make an X with a pencil next to a ballot, on a ballot next to the person of their choice. And is it working well? Is it working efficiently? One can say, generally speaking, it seems to be doing pretty well thus far. Can it be more efficient and effective? Certainly, without a doubt. And we would definitely love to get to the point where we can see a very simple, seamless process. Maybe even get to the day where you could actually maybe even vote online. Who knows? But then, of course, to be able to achieve that, we certainly have to have a lot of public education and a lot of public education on the whole process, and to ensure that the public has the confidence in the electoral process. And so, again, it's ironic because just recently we saw attempts by some to somehow suggest that the process was not fair, and they were making all manner of aspersions, talking about the electronic database and trying to effectively, in my view, almost confuse the electorate into somehow believing that there was something going on with the IT system of the electoral department that was somehow going to impact on the results of the general election. And that, of course, can only be described as fiction because of what they've, the sort of suggestions that are being made. And of course, we've discussed that here already in respect of the process of voting and the existing checks that are in place and the opportunities that are afforded the respective candidates and respective parties to be able to lodge any concerns, complaints, regarding any matter of the ballots not being properly counted or tabulated properly. All of that is very much present. And so in each point along the way, there are agents of the respective candidates who are viewing the voting process, who are viewing the counting process, who are viewing the tabulation of the votes after they were counted. And so all of these have their respective handoffs and, of course, the presence of the police in this manner. And so it's, of course, unfortunate that already there's this attempt to somehow suggest that, there is this IT issue, even though we're talking about physical voting and physical ballots. But already we're seeing where that is going in that direction is already going to make some people be even more concerned or less trusting if, in fact, we ever get to that point of making voting a little bit more accessible. But certainly it is something that I think we have to think about moving forward, and the whole matter of absentee voting or advance polling is something that I think should be looked at. And even the matter of the dates, it's another big debate that has been held over the years. Should there be a fixed date for the general election? When would be the best time to do that? Of course, it would mean more certainty in terms of planning for everybody. We would not, this is how it exists in the United States. Everybody knows the second Tuesday in November, every 4 years, that's the date. And so everybody has a set amount of time to know so. And it, of course, means, therefore, that the whole matter of advance polling and all that can be worked in once there's certainty in that process. And also, this year as well, there was a call for debates, the timing of all of these debates and whatnot within a 21-day period. Once an election is called, sometimes it might be very challenging to make all of it happen. But if there is, again, some certainty in the date, then maybe a number of these things can be, in fact, put forward with a greater level of certainty to make it happen. So definitely the matter of electoral reform and looking at our system there's nothing wrong with that. There's always a good opportunity, and then every time we should be looking at how we can improve things, how we can make them better, and trying to ensure that we're doing better at things like elections and ensuring that people have their democratic rights. Now, I think we're a little over time already, so we're going to take in our weather report right about now.
This has been The Daily Dish.
Last year, boy, problems to get shipment of tiles in time for Christmas. This year, Island Style has enough tiles in stock to cover the whole of St. Lucia. And with our Christmas sale starting now, every tile is on sale. Island Style has massive stock, the widest variety, and the very best sale prices on quality tiles and natural stone in St. Lucia. Great deals on beautiful bathroom faucets, vanities and fixtures, tiling tools and accessories. Don't fall for no gimmicks anywhere else. Island Style's annual Christmas sale is unbeatable. Tiles for miles. Deals as far as the eye can see. Start your car, ride your bike, hop on a bus, and hurry down to Island Style Town and Bath now. Castries, Rodney Bay, and Viewford. Check Facebook for more details.
It's now time for our weather report brought to you by Island Style.
This is Radio Caribbean International. It's now time for the weather news.
And the forecast for St. Lucia Valley for the next 24 hours. Winds will be blowing from the east near 22 miles per hour or 35 kilometers per hour, with high occasional gusts. Weather fair to breezy, becoming cloudy at times with light showers. Forecast for the Lesser Antilles: fair and breezy, becoming cloudy at times with few light to moderate showers. The weather summary: the Atlantic high pressure system will continue to maintain moderate to breeze easterly winds and local rough seas across the region for the next few days. Some showers are expected over the islands as patches of low-level clouds drifting across the wind flow. Happening over the region from time to time. And that is your weather report, brought to you by Island Style.
This has been RCI's Weather News. For more information, call the Weather Hotline at 454-3452. RCI 101 number 1.
Last year, boy, problems to get shipment of tiles in time for Christmas. This year, Island Style has enough tiles in stock to cover the whole of St. Lucia. And with our Christmas sale starting now, every tile is on sale. Island Style has massive stock, the widest variety, and the very best sale prices on quality tiles. And natural stone in St. Lucia. Great deals on beautiful bathroom faucets, vanities and fixtures, tiling tools and accessories. Don't fall for no gimmicks anywhere else. Island Style's annual Christmas sale is unbeatable. Tiles for miles. Deals as far as the eye can see. Start your car, ride your bike, hop on a bus, and hurry down to Island Style Town and Bath now. Castries, Rodney Bay, and Viewford. Check Facebook for more details.
Massey Store's Fast Lane can change your shopping experience. Pressed for time? Try our Fast Lane for a quick, convenient self-checkout for 1 to 10 items when paying with your debit or credit card. Plus, during this month, when you swipe your Massey card, we're giving you double points with every transaction. Save on the double points when you check out in the Fast Lane at Massey Stores Rodney Bay, Sunny Acres, and Gourmet.
This festive season, turn your plans into possibilities with the First National Bank's Merry Money promotion. Borrow up to $30,000 to shop for the holidays and be eligible for exciting weekly prizes. Win a staycation for 2, luxury dinners, grocery vouchers, and more. Borrow a minimum of $15,000 for your chance to win the grand prize of $5,000. One lucky winner in St. Lucia and the other in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. First National Bank's Merry Money promotion. Borrow today and you could win big. Terms and conditions apply. Visit our website or your nearest branch for details.
And welcome back to the lunchroom here at Radio Caribbean International. We've got about 21 minutes to go before the hour of 2 o'clock. The number to call in to tell us what's on your plate today, it is 452-3046. Again, 452-3046. Of course, at 3 o'clock this afternoon, we'll be seeing the swearing in of the new ministers of the second Philip J. Pierre cabinet, and that will no doubt be of interest to a lot of people to see the new assignment of portfolios, who will be responsible for championing particular areas of interest. Of course, it's important for many different sectors at this point in time, whether you may be in the tourism sector, you may be in the health sector, in the education sector, in the creative sector, in the blue economy, in the green economy, wherever you may find yourself. It is, of course, and overall in terms of matters that affect us all, financial management, economic development. We will all no doubt be looking to get a sense of the overall direction that the government is wishing to head towards. So really the formation of the government at this point in time. And it is generally an executive function. It's the purview, in a theoretical sense, of the Governor General, but of course he makes those appointments on the recommendation of the Prime Minister, who effectively names his cabinet and cabinet portfolios and who gets what department and whatnot. So we're looking forward to seeing that in not too long from now at about 3 o'clock this afternoon. And in fact, I think it's happening down at the Parliament building on Labrie Street, Castries. Now, we were, of course, mentioning earlier on the matter of oil and, the need to shift away from oil, and how oil is still very much dominating a lot of geopolitical decisions and actions around the world. Now, there's an interesting clip, I think, coming out of Sky News out of the UK, which gives some insight into the matter of the U.S. interest in respect of Venezuela, and of course the military buildup that we're seeing in the Caribbean Sea, the threats, the statements of the closure of the Venezuelan airspace. We've seen the actions taken against a number of vessels, allegedly drug anti-narcotic operations by the United States. We've also seen very recently the seizure of a very large oil tanker which came out of Venezuela and was actually heading to Cuba. And so, of course, the matter of continued heightened tensions is likely to very well escalate in the weeks and months ahead. But of course, we do know that Venezuela is the country with the largest proven oil reserves, but there is, of course, a bit of a nuance in terms of even that matter. And so this video, of course, gives a bit more insight into why Venezuela and Venezuelan oil is so important to the United States of America. Let's take a listen.
He's interested in Venezuela. The main reason the US is kind of looking at tankers off the coast of Venezuela comes back to drugs, the trade, the smuggling of illegal drugs out of Venezuela. But what if it's not just that? Maybe there's something else going on. What if it's partly about oil? Now, on the surface, you might be thinking, why does America even need Venezuelan oil? And I can kind of understand your point, because if you look at just total oil production, look, this is up until 2005, the US was there, Venezuela was there, Saudi Arabia was there. But as you probably know, since then, everything has changed. Look, American output has gone through the roof, way above Saudi Arabia, and Venezuela has gone basically to the floor. And that's kind of post-Chavez, Maduro. They're one of the minnows now, and I think 21st biggest producer in the world. So again, that question, why should America care? Well, in the US, that big rise is largely down to this. It's down to the shale revolution. So you've got fracking all around the US producing extraordinary amounts of crude oil. And here's where we get to the interesting bit. Because when you're thinking about crude oil, maybe you're just thinking about, well, look, barrels of oil. It's all the same, isn't it? Well, actually, no. So if you kind of look at crude oil, there are various different types of crude in different parts of the world. There's actually kind of various different ways you can categorize it. But one way you can look at it is look at the kind of density. So you're basically looking at how thick that crude is. And when I say thick, I mean literally how thick. This is showing you global production broken down by the density of that oil. And so you've got the kind of medium stuff. And this is probably, if you've got kind of image in your mind of what crude oil looks like, it's a bit like this, it's kind of black, but it's not too viscous, it flows around. But there's other stuff as well. So this is light crude. And it kind of almost looks like a smoothie, doesn't it? And that's the same stuff. This is still crude oil, but down to the kind of geological and the biological conditions in the ground when it was being formed, hundreds of millions of years ago, it comes out looking a bit different. And so that's light. You've also got heavy stuff. And it's kind of relatively small in global production. But this is gloopy, super viscous stuff, heavy oil. So heavy, medium, light. Remember that. And remember also, the key thing here is you get it out of the ground, it may look like that, but ultimately you still need it to go into, someone's car, or indeed, be turned into chemicals. Basically, you need to process it. And that processing, that happens in places like this, in refineries. And there are refineries all over the world, of course. There are refineries all over the US as well. There's kind of more than 100 of them. And if we kind of look at where those refineries are, well, so there's some in California. So the history in America, actually, historically, a lot of the early Californian oil, that was the heavy, gloopy stuff. And if you look at kind of some of the refineries in America, so here are some of the refineries. There's one in LA there. These are the 10 biggest. You've got some up here around kind of towards Canada. We'll kind of come to that in a second. But a lot of them are down there, kind of Texas, Louisiana, on the coast. And here's the critical thing. These refineries are primarily set up for heavy oil, for taking that gloopy stuff and turning it into gasoline and all of the other different products. But here's where things get interesting. And remember that chart I showed you a moment ago, the one which showed kind of shale oil and how it kind of went through the roof? The oil that's generally produced with shale oil, the fracking oil, that comes out of the ground mostly in the light form. So it's the smoothie. It's sometimes actually even clear. It comes out of the ground clear rather than black. And that's the majority of American production right now. Shale oil tends to be light stuff. And actually, that's kind of going back 10 years. Look at where we are now. Look at those bars. In the last few years, the amount of light oil being produced in the US has gone up and up and up, and the amount of kind of heavy stuff has gone down. But back to those refineries. They need to be fed. If America's going to have gasoline, it needs to feed those refineries with heavy oil. So if you look at the kind of imports coming into America, in recent years, even though America is producing so much oil, more oil than it ever produced before, it still needs to suck in loads of oil from overseas. And the type of oil we're talking about, it used to be, it's mostly heavy crude. It used to be only 12%. So only 12% of imports were heavy, gloopy crude. Now, it's about 70%. So 70% of the oil coming into America, which it needs to basically keep its economy going, is heavy crude. And where does heavy crude come from? Well, here are some of the big countries where you find most of it. It's Canada and Venezuela. There's one other I'll come to in a second, which we'll come back to. But it's Canada and it's Venezuela where you get most of this heavy crude oil, which is why, about to think about where those refineries are, they're mostly set up, kind of, you've got some in the north there to get the heavy oil coming out of Canada, and you've got some around the kind of Louisiana and elsewhere and Texas to get that heavy oil that comes in from Venezuela. That was kind of the way they were set up. And it's really expensive to rebuild these things. You can't just chuck out a refinery very easily overnight. Some came from Mexico and the Gulf of Mexico as well, and that was pretty heavy too. So that's the picture in America. And the upshot is, even though America is producing more and more oil, the imports, this is showing you imports of oil into America, are still really high. And if you break down those imports by the country that stuff is coming from, well, there's Venezuela. And it used to be a decent slug, actually more coming from Venezuela just about than from Canada, just at the turn of the millennium. But now look at what's happened since. Right now, Canada has gone from 15% of all of the US imports of oil to 61%. 61%. And Venezuela is basically next to nothing. But here's what's tantalizing, and here's the reason I think that a lot of people are looking towards Venezuela and thinking, well, there's more to this than just drugs. Look at total oil reserves around the world. The higher these bars are, the more oil there is in the ground, so that hasn't yet been taken out of the ground. So there you've got Saudi, Iran, Iraq, all of the usual suspects. But the biggest of all, and this is according to various different sources, the biggest of all is Venezuela. And what's that oil? It's the heavy, tarry stuff that you might well want to put into those American refineries. And there is really only one other place in the world that has a kind of serious amount of heavy oil other than Canada and Venezuela. And lo and behold, guess where that is? It's Russia. All of which is to say, you know, it matters what kind of oil America needs. It's worth just delving into these kind of nuances because that helps you understand a little bit more about the backstory of geopolitics.
And of course, a very interesting piece there that gives a bit of more context to why Venezuela is so very, very, very important geopolitically. and why, of course, we're seeing such a large amount of emphasis right now being placed on it by the Trump administration and, of course, military interest in particular. So, as to how, of course, this is going to continue to play out globally, it is going to be very, very interesting. Of course, given the recent action by the United States, the seizure of that oil tanker, of course, the Venezuelan authorities have characterized it as open piracy by the United States. The United States believes that it is within its right, given the sanctions that it has imposed on Venezuela. And this matter, of course, is very, very, very tense, and we'll have to continue to closely monitor it, given, of course, that it is in very many ways happening within our back door at this time. Well, I think we've got a call coming in. Is that correct? Good afternoon. Welcome to the lunchroom, and what's on your plate today? Hi, caller. How are you doing? Yes, that's correct. It's our last program today for the year. Thank you very, very much. Thanks, much appreciated, and the same to you for the season, and of course as we move into the year 2026. Or, or you like the idea of people being caught off guard. But then, of course, you can see why somebody will say it's an unfair advantage, though. That once you're in government, but then you have seen. Remember, we have seen how that has played out. I mean, you're thinking about it maybe in a situation where we're in a seesaw back and forth all the time, but you may end up in another situation where governments are getting, 3 terms in a row, 4 terms in a row, and they then have what's that? Yeah, but and then remember we also saw look at what happened back in 1987, where we had a situation where an election was called, and the result, and then we had another election after that. Exactly, you know, that's right, 9898. So well, there's no guarantee, caller. There is no guarantee that that always happens in the. Yes. Yes. Mhm. 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 Mm. Right, that's correct. No economic development. Yes. He used to. He used to be yes in the SLTU. In fact, I think he did run for president once. Uh, um, he wasn't successful, but he the teachers union. Yes, that's correct. Yeah. Mhm. Mhm. Right. Right. Well, there are four new MPs. Right. Keithson Charles, Danny Butcher, Mr. John Paul Estefan. Yes. Right. Right. Mm. Very well. Thanks very much. Many happy returns to you, caller. Thanks very, very much. Oh, it's your birthday today. Well, happy birthday to you. Oh, oh, Christmas is your birthday. Oh, wow, wow. Okay, okay, okay. Well, that's an interesting time for you. You have to wonder where are you getting gifts for? Is it for Christmas or your birthday? Okay, okay, okay. Yes, I know people who take care, caller. Have a good one. Yes, I know it's for persons who are born in January. It's a bit of a challenge because it's just after Christmas, and everybody has perhaps gone and splurged for the Christmas holidays, and you may be forgotten, the month of the forgotten people. But definitely, we definitely want to wish everybody a very very merry Christmas and prosperous New Year, 2026, and certainly we've been we've had quite an interesting year. Certainly in 2025, there's been a lot of happenings, lots to take in. In particular, we do hope that it's going to be a peaceful Christmas. We do hope that we can see some abatement and persons, putting aside a lot of the unfortunate, hate and rancor and the issues that we've been dealing with at the societal level. It's definitely has not helped us. It's not helping families, not helping societies. So that's definitely, I think, one of our the Christmas wishes that we would like to see, that in the new year as a country we can begin hoping for a more peaceful society, a society that does not turn to violence for settlement of conflict. There are far better ways, and it therefore means that we, in terms of our emotional intelligence, in terms of how we think, how we settle and resolve disputes, many of these things we have to be putting front and center. And of course, in some instances, it doesn't come naturally. People sometimes have to get into that mold, and there's need for training in conflict resolution, in how you, because sometimes it may not be our conflict, but we may very well be pulled in, and people may be asking for arbitration, for mediation. They come to individuals in society to be able to provide guidance and to try to mediate in very difficult situations. And there is certainly a very important role for certain institutions to play that role in that process of mediation, in that process of healing, in that process of counseling, and really trying to, make a different path in respect of, dealing with conflict, dealing with dispute. Life is way too precious and too short for us to be engaging in rancor and dispute at every opportunity. So our dealing with our emotions, in dealing with anger in particular. In some instances, it may be tied to a lot of other issues, maybe mental health issues. And so a lot of these things, certainly as a society, we do need to look at, because in the long run, it just causes way too much hurt, way too much pain for the society, and definitely not a place where we want to be bringing up our children into the future. So we definitely want to urge, of course, that we can all go out there and enjoy our Christmas. We can have a good Christmas, but let's certainly do so respectfully and do so understanding that we're living in a society. It's not just about us, right? We've got to be able to realize that we've got to cooperate. We've got to collaborate. We've got to give and take. And so let's hope we can remember that, of course, in how we go about our ways. So you have to be responsible, and so therefore, even in terms of driving on the road, that's another area where we all have to share that common space. And so therefore, you've got to be responsible about that, and in terms of how much you're drinking out there. If you're drinking, you shouldn't be driving. You should be trying to the other ways that you can have a good time. If you want to be having your alcohol, you can do so maybe safely at your home, or if you're friends, yes, but not behind the wheel. And so let's hope we can have a safe and happy and Merry Christmas, and that we can all hopefully get into the year 2026 in good spirits and enjoy that opportunity to move forward. So again, all the best for 2026, and enjoy the Christmas holidays. Take care and goodbye.